What's going on, everybody? Khalipa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be doing a quick comparison between the Nokia G400 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G. Now before we go any further, as always, I do want to remind you to hit that subscribe button, and if you want to learn more about either phone individually, I will be linking to several other videos about them in the description, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But with that being said, let's get into it. So with the Nokia G400 5G, we're getting a 6.58-inch 120Hz IPS LCD display with a 1080p resolution, a PPI of 401, and an aspect ratio of 20:9. With the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, we're getting a 6.5-inch 90Hz PLS TFT display with a 720p resolution, a PPI of 270, and an aspect ratio of 20:9 as well. So in pretty much every way where there's a difference, the Nokia G400 5G definitely does have a better display. First of all, at 6.58 inches versus 6.5, while the difference isn't really huge, the Nokia G400 5G is a tiny bit larger. It also has a slightly higher refresh rate at 120Hz versus 90Hz. And while of course both are above average, the movement on the screen with the Nokia G400 is going to be a little bit smoother. So if you're watching a lot of videos, playing games, stuff that really has motion on the screen, you will get a slightly better experience here. And in general, the Nokia is going to feel a little bit more premium to use. Then of course, the biggest difference here is that with a 1080p resolution versus 720p, the image is going to be a lot sharper with the Nokia G400 5G. So in general, if you're consuming a lot of content and you're just going to be on your phone a lot, you will get a better experience with the Nokia G400 5G. Now for storage, both phones are getting 64GB of internal storage with microSD card expansion, so really not bad here. On one hand, if you're really a power user and you have a bunch of apps and games and stuff like that, then you're probably going to want a little bit more storage than this. But honestly, for the average user, at 64GB, as long as you're mindful of what you're putting on your phone, the storage you get with these phones is going to be perfectly fine. Now for security features, both phones do have Face Unlock, and they both also have fingerprint scanners right here on the power keys, so definitely real convenient. But starting with the Nokia G400 5G, let's go ahead and give them a try. There we go, one more time. And there we go. And now for the A13 5G. There we go, one more time. And there we go. So as you can see there, real fast and responsive, no issues at all. And again, both phones do have Face Unlock too, so if you want to use that instead, you always can. Now taking a look at the camera setups here, both phones have water drop notches for the front-facing cameras. With the Nokia G400 5G, this camera is 16 megapixels, and with the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, this camera is 5 megapixels. On the back, both phones have triple camera setups. With the Nokia G400 5G, we got a 48 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. And with the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, we got a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. So in general, both phones do have pretty good camera setups. In between the two, the photo quality is about the same. So it's really going to come down to which features you want, because on one hand, the Nokia G400 5G does have an ultra-wide camera, but it doesn't have a macro camera, whereas the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G is pretty much the opposite, having no ultra-wide camera, but it does have a macro camera. So if you want to get wider angles, maybe you're taking lots of scenery photos, group pictures, pictures of rooms and buildings and stuff like that, then you might want to go with the Nokia G400 5G, because in that case, an ultra-wide camera is probably going to be a lot more useful. But if you're trying to get some real nice close-up detailed images, then of course the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G with a macro camera is probably going to be a better choice. But other than that, as far as the regular photo quality goes, I do think both phones are pretty much the same. And for basic general use, for stuff like social media for example, either phone will get the job done just fine. Now when it comes to RAM and processor, the Nokia G400 5G is getting 4GB of RAM with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 480 5G processor. The Samsung Galaxy A13 5G is getting 4GB of RAM as well with the MediaTek Dimensity 700 5G processor. When it comes to overall performance, while the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G isn't really that bad, I would say in general, the Nokia G400 5G is significantly faster. So if you're going to be on your phone a little bit more, then the Nokia will be a better choice. But that being said, if you're more of a light user and you're really just doing basic activities like web browsing, social media, stuff like that, and again, you're not going to be on your phone all day or anything, in that case, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, while again, definitely not being nearly as fast, is still going to at least get the job done. Now I did run Geekbench 5 benchmark tests on both phones, and here are the scores I got. So again, as you can see here, the Nokia G400 5G has a significant advantage. So again, if you want the faster phone between the two, then definitely keep this in mind. But overall, for what it is, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G really isn't that bad. And if you're just doing really basic daily activities like web browsing, social media, streaming an occasional video here and there, and you're just not going to be on your phone that much, the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G will at least get the job done. Now both phones do have 5000 mAh batteries, with the Nokia G400 5G supporting 20W fast charging, and the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G supporting 15. Now that 5W difference in fast charging is probably probably not really going to make a noticeable difference, but I suppose if you really do want the best fast charging, the Nokia G400 5G will have a bit of an advantage. But other than that, with both phones having 5000 mAh batteries, you can expect either phone to get great battery life and longevity. So if you're looking for a phone that has a great battery, either way you really won't go wrong here. Another thing to keep in mind here is that both phones do have NFC, so if you like to make contactless mobile payments using tap and pay, keep in mind you can do that with either phone no problem. But in conclusion, which of these phones is better? In general, in pretty much every way where there's a difference, I would say the Nokia G400 5G is the better device here. First of all, the display is quite a bit better. Sure, the size and dimensions are pretty much the same, but with a 1080p resolution and a slightly higher refresh rate, you are going to get a much better content consumption experience with the Nokia G400. So in general, if you're going to be on your phone a lot, this is probably going to be a better choice. For the cameras, it's kind of a toss-up, but I feel like I would personally go with the Nokia G400 5G because I feel like an ultra-wide camera is a lot more useful than a macro camera. But that being said, if you do want a macro camera, then you might want to go with the A13 5G instead. But all that being said, probably the biggest difference here is the performance. With the Nokia G400 5G, while this is definitely not the fastest mid-range phone out there, and in fact, compared to a lot of other Samsung phones, the Nokia G400 5G is still not really even the best option. But that being said, compared to the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G, the Nokia G400 5G is just a lot faster. So if you're going to be on your phone a little bit more, then this is definitely something to keep in mind too. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for an entry-level 5G device for more basic activities like web browsing, social media, streaming content like videos and music, and maybe you want to take the occasional nice photo here and there, and you want a good battery, but you don't really need anything crazy, in that kind of situation, while the Nokia G400 5G is technically a better phone, the A13 5G is still going to be a perfectly fine choice too. But this concludes my comparison between the Nokia G400 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A13 5G. Again, if you want to learn more about either phone individually, I will be linking to several other videos about each of them in the description, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Cleepus Tech on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, I will see you in the next video.